I spent 45 minutes last night scrolling through streaming apps trying to find a movie, and ended up just going to sleep. We've all been there. But that ritual, browsing a massive corporate menu for your Friday night entertainment, is about to become completely obsolete. For a century, the entertainment industry built its empire on one specific vulnerability: scarcity. They controlled what got financed, what got distributed, and what actually reached an audience. Because you had no realistic way to make a high-budget movie or a studio-quality album in your living room, you were forced into a passive role. You had to rent, buy, or subscribe to whatever limited options the gatekeepers decided to offer. Hollywood's real product was the gate itself, the narrow pipe through which every movie, song, or game had to flow. By owning that pipe, they maintained an artificial scarcity that dictated the price of culture. That entire assumption is breaking down right now. We are seeing rapid releases of open-source generative AI tools, video models like WAN 2.1, and interfaces like Comfy UI that let anyone run high-level workflows locally on standard consumer hardware. This chart tracks the sheer volume of open-source AI models available over a 2-year period. By March 2026, Hugging Face reported hosting over 2 million public models. The growth rate is practically a vertical line. This forces a shift in the user experience, moving from browsing to synthesis. Instead of picking from what a studio cleared for release, you ask for a specific mood, a certain visual style, or a blend of genres, and the machine generates something shaped exactly to your preferences. Open-source AI functions as an economic weapon against the intellectual property industry. When anyone can generate a private, high-quality substitute on demand, the foundational scarcity the system depends on evaporates. If I am a massive incumbent, like Disney or Universal, my immediate reaction is to deploy an army of lawyers. Why can't these companies simply use existing copyright law to sue these open-source models out of existence? Because the legal framework is not cooperating. In January 2025, the U.S. Copyright Office released a report explicitly stating that material generated wholly by AI is uncopyrightable under current law. Typing a prompt does not provide sufficient human control for authorship. This cuts off a convenient fallback for the studios. They cannot fire their crews, flood the streaming zones with their own machine-generated content, and assume the government will hand them a fresh legal monopoly over every single output. Instead, the legal focus is fracturing. While broad copyright claims on AI output stall out, the Copyright Office is pushing for new federal legislation to protect digital replicas, specifically a performer's voice, face, and likeness. The intellectual property battlefield is shifting. The core fight is moving away from the claim, "You copied my movie," and turning into, "You unlawfully invoked a real person's commercial identity." So if the legal perimeter around broad copyright is failing, and the open source code is already loose on the internet, how exactly do the gatekeepers plan to fight back? They go after the physical infrastructure. Look at this network map of the AI ecosystem. To build these models, you need massive cloud GPUs. Policymakers are already floating rules, like the January 2024 BIS proposal, to regulate who can rent that compute power, creating a bottleneck before a model is ever trained. The second target is distribution. Laws like the EU's Article 50 transparency obligations force tech platforms to digitally tag and label AI-generated content. This gives app stores and payment systems the power to throttle or visually marginalize synthetic outputs. The third tactic is raw lawfare. Massive, ongoing lawsuits over training data serve a secondary purpose beyond seeking damages. They are designed to make hosting, financing, or normalizing open-source systems financially toxic for developers. The incumbents know they cannot uninvent open weights or white code from the internet. Their strategy relies on weaponizing server access, platform rules, and continuous litigation to starve open-source AI of resources before the consumer ever gets to use it. Between the compute restrictions and the massive lawsuits, the pressure is immense. But assuming personal synthesis pushes through those choke points, does traditional mass media just die overnight? No, official releases and trusted brands will survive, but the center of gravity shifts. Value moves away from pure digital content because that content is now infinitely abundant and inherently cheap to produce. Think about the consumer appeal. If you are tired of stale franchise reboots or generic corporate messaging, you can bypass it entirely. you can generate a perfectly customized, high-quality alternative that actually fits your tastes. In a world flooded with synthetic supply, audiences will actively seek out what cannot be generated with a prompt. Authenticated live performances, direct relationships with human creators, and active fan communities will become the most defensible assets a company can hold. When any individual can conjure a customized movie or song on demand, a massive library of digital files loses its premium status. True human connection becomes the ultimate scarce resource. This moves us into a new relationship with media. We are shifting from an audience that simply receives finished products to one that uses these technical frameworks to actively generate our own entertainment. Exactly. The economic logic of paying a monthly fee for a controlled, limited menu evaporates when personal synthesis becomes a normal, daily routine. The core of the issue is no longer who owns the historical media catalogs. The real power lies in who gets to decide the terms on which the machine sitting closest to you operates.
Thanks for listening to Popular AI. For hands-on tutorials, local AI build guides, and practical ways to reclaim autonomy with AI, visit popularai.org. Check the show notes at the link below, and don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.